best horror movies of 2021. So I watched a ton of horror movies this year, and these are the ones that stood out to me. This is my opinion of which movies I thought were the best. If you agree or if you disagree with some of these, do let me know. Leave a comment down below. What was your favorite horror movie of 2021? But I do want to let you guys know we do stream over on Twitch. Right now, we're live on Twitch. So come on over. Link will be down in the description below. Now, I didn't watch every horror movie from 2021. There was a lot of horror movies. So if one of your favorite movies didn't make the list, just know I probably didn't watch it, or I just didn't add it onto this list. Now, there are some movies that I wanted to see this year, but I never got around to seeing, like Antlers, and there's a couple other ones as well. Let's start with one that I really liked, Willys Wonderland. So the premise of this movie is a quiet loner, Nicolas Cage, finds himself stranded in a remote town after his car breaks down, hits like a strip, tires pop, and he's unable to pay for the repairs that he needs. Which is kind of funny because the only paying machine they have in that town is down. So you can't take any cash out. So he agrees to spend a night cleaning Willys Wonderland, an abandoned family fun center, but this Wonderland has a dark secret that this janitor is about to discover. Willys Wonderland was such a fun movie, man. This is like Nicolas Cage at his best. Now, I believe this was like an old Five Nights at Freddy's script that the director took and like reworked. I think that's it. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, you can. It's not a serious movie, it's a lot of fun. Like, he doesn't say, I don't think he says one word during this whole movie. Nick Cage and just kicking animatronic ass. It's a lot of fun. It was really good. It was better than I thought it would be. Kind of reminded me of that Banana Splits movie a lot, but I think this was better. If you just want like ridiculous, goofy horror comedy, this should be right up your alley if you enjoy that. It's definitely one of the standout movies for me. Now, this list is in no particular order, right? I'm just naming these. It's not like this is my number 10, this to number 1 list. So Willys Wonderland. Have you seen it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know. Move on to another one that I wasn't sure if I was going to like this year. Malignant. Malignant is a 2021 American horror film directed by James Wan. Now, you might know James Wan from Saw, The Conjuring, Dead Silence, Fast and the Furious at one point. He's very particular. If you watch a James Wan movie, you'll know it's a James Wan movie. The story was done by Wan, Ingrid Bisu, and Cooper. Film stars Annabelle Wallace as a woman who begins to have visions of people being murdered, only to realize that the events that are happening are actually happening in real life. When this movie's coming out, Malignant, this was a weird one. When they were doing the promotional stuff for this came across as like a paranormal movie. Because as James Wan, you're like, oh, Malignant, James Wan did The Conjuring. Oh, is it like another paranormal movie? If you've seen it and you know the little twist in the movie, well, then you know if they were to market it a different way, it probably wouldn't have gone over so well. You know, and I know a lot of people who went to see it and they were let down because they thought it was going to be a different type of movie, which ended up being a vastly different type of movie. And like halfway through, once you start to piece together what's happening. I like this movie. It had a nice twist in it that you didn't really see coming. I kind of had an idea of what the twist would be just because of what the title of the movie was. I guess what the twist was, but at the same time, I was also like wrong. I was like 50-50. Now, I don't want to give away spoilers because I think some people here haven't seen it. So I won't give away any spoilers as to what the twist is or what it is. It does have some issues like pacing, the acting, of course. But I mean, I don't watch horror movies for the Oscar acting, right? I watch them because they're campy, they're funny. There's cool kills in it. And there's cool kills in this one. There's a scene in this which reminded me of The Matrix a bit. It was really cool. It was really good. It is said to be like, oh, this is like an original film. This kind of takes ideas from like 1980s horror movies like Basket Case. Definitely, I think that was a big one to help with this movie. Malignant. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I really enjoyed it. Moving on to this one. So I had to group these movies together. Fear Street, the Fear Street series. Honestly, if you watch them all back to back, it's all one giant movie, right? It's connected so good. When these movies were coming out, it was like 3 weeks. Every Friday, a movie would drop, right? It was kind of like a horror event throughout the week. Fear Street's out. Have you watched it? Better watch it. Number 2 is coming out. Such a good hit of nostalgia. Yes, it really was. I loved how each movie kind of paid homage to predecessors, right? Like Fear Street 1 reminded me of like 90s horror movies like Scream. Fear Street 2 is very much like Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp. You know, the horror movies from the 80s. And then the third one was kind of like those period horror movies, kind of like The Witch and Lighthouse, which is really cool. They didn't play it safe in these movies because you do like fall in love with certain characters and you're like, hey, I like these characters. And then you're like, they probably won't die because Usually horror movies don't take risks like that. But you know what? People do die in this movie. And some of the deaths are pretty cool. You know, like a bread cutting machine? Just saying. It was a great mishmash of different horror genres, but it did each of them justice. It did, yeah. Third one probably wasn't my favorite. I'd say the second one was my favorite, followed by the first and the third. But, I mean, they're all good in their own rights. It was 3 movies. It was like one giant horror event. And if you watch all movies back to back, right, they line up so well. Right, you can just watch. It's like one giant freaking movie, honestly. The killers in these movies were really unique. I liked them. They did touch on like different types of killers through the years, which I hope they do like a prequel to, because I'd love to see those killers come back. Have more of a story. The weird kid with the bat, the milkman, I think that was one. There's a couple others as well. I can't really think of them at the moment, but they're really cool. So I hope they do that. It's a great series to introduce people into horror. It's just a great series in general. I really think this kind of rejuvenated the horror series a little bit for a lot of people. A lot of nostalgia as well, but you know, nothing wrong with that. So Fear Street, the series. Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. It's on Netflix still. I think it made a new generation aware of older horror genres, like slashers. Yeah. I guess new generations are more into the paranormal, right? They wouldn't really know much about slashers unless they're like really into horror. This one's a horror comedy. This one's called Werewolves Within. Have you seen this one? Has anyone seen Werewolves Within? So this one is one of the better video game movies. So this was like a Ubisoft game from like way back in the day, and then it got made into a movie. And it's like, think of like Clue meets werewolves. So the whole game is like someone's like a werewolf killing people off, and you all have to try and figure out who it is and stop them. That's the game. And the movie is the same way. There's something killing people, and this park ranger and the people around him have to try and figure out who's doing this. You know, who's killing these people? I'd say this is like one of the really good movies that got turned from a video game into a movie. It's really hard to do that, but I think this movie did a really good job. If you like comedy, if you like suspense, mystery, this is definitely up your alley. The acting was really great. The main character and even like the surrounding characters were really likable. They're all really funny, especially the main guy. I think that guy's from Detroit, the comedy series. It's a great horror comedy. The movie kept you guessing about like who it is. You know, they did a good job at like throwing you off. Like, oh, you probably think it's that person. Oh no, it's probably that person. What was wrong there? They did a good job of like misdirecting you through the movie, which was good. The main character though, he's really lovable in this movie. And there's a lot of twists and turns. The actors in this movie really made what the movie is. It's a very good video game adaptation. I'll honestly say this is probably like one of my favorite horror movies that I watched this year. It's one of those movies that I can see being a cult classic and one of those movies that you put on for comfort. Does that make sense? If you're a horror fan, or if you have certain movies that you watch that comfort you, I could see this movie being one of those types of movies. Werewolves Within, have you seen it? What'd you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. Next movie. Now this one's a little controversial actually when this came out this year. This one is pretty controversial. A lot of mixed reviews. Halloween Kills. A lot of mixed reviews came out about this movie this year during the Halloween season, and I could see people's points. But to myself, I really loved this movie. Not just because, I love Halloween and Michael Myers. I'll even say like many of the Halloween movies are pretty shit, but I really like this one. I thought the whole Evil Dies Tonight, I'll agree with people, it's kind of like Evil Dies Tonight, how they're trying to make that a thing. At the same time, we got the memes, Evil Dines Tonight. There's a couple other ones as well. It's really funny, I thought. It wasn't just like your other Halloween movies where it kind of puts like Michael by the wayside. This was like Michael's movie, right? Halloween Kills. I went into this movie to watch Michael Myers kill people, right? Halloween Kills. I'm like, okay, there better be a lot of killing in this movie. And you know what? There was. I mean, some of the kills were kind of like silly, but it's a horror movie. You're not going to go to a horror movie and be like, I watch serious murders. No, you go to a horror movie for fun. And this is what this was. Halloween Kills was fun, I thought. I liked how it didn't tie Michael and Laurie together, because all these years you think, oh, Michael is only going after Laurie because he hates her or whatever. But the fact is, he doesn't fucking care about her, which I thought was good, right? He's just an evil killing machine. I like how they went from like the whole transcending into something more than immortal. Kind of like how Jason went. Jason went from like a mortal being to like an undead killing machine. I don't think Michael's undead, though he should be undead with the amount of shit he's been stabbed, been shot. You would think he'd be dead, but I mean, can't kill evil. And I think that's the whole point of the movie. Like, evil can't die. It's always going to be there. And I like that this was his movie, right? There's more Michael in this movie. There's more kills in this movie than any other Halloween movie, which was great. Well, I would hope so because it's Halloween Kills, right? Some of the kills were cheesy, but it's a horror movie. I'm all about that cheese, man. The pacing was a bit weird as well. The acting, is all over the place. Halloween movie, right? People who think this is supposed to be serious, I think they're dumb. Right? It's like why you watch Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not for the acting, is it? Halloween Hugs, right? Michael just hugging people. I love you, bro. I'm so sorry I put this town through 40 years of grief. It was brutal. It was dark. It was gory. It was a fun time. I can't wait for Halloween ends. Did you guys like Halloween Kills? Or did you hate it? I know a lot of people hated it. I know a lot of people liked it too, so let me know. Leave a comment. Let's talk about another horror movie. I believe this one's on Netflix now. If you're in Canada, it might be on the US as well. This one's called Demonic. The premise, I gotta explain the premise for this one a little bit. Carly is a young woman who has fallen out of contact with her mother, Angela, because Angela is convicted of killing 21 people in a killing spree where she burned down a care home she worked at and poisoned a church. Nobody has any idea why Angela went on a rampage, and Carly has not seen her mother in years. Carly is supported by her best friend Sam. The pair cut off their childhood friend Martin after he began to make strange theories about Angela. Carly is plagued by nightmares about Angela. One day, Carly receives a text from Martin, who wants to meet up and talk. Upon meeting, Martin tells Carly that he was invited to be part of a focus group test for a company called Therapol, which involved real medical patients, one of which was Carly's mom, who was in a comatose state. Carly is stunned by this revelation and is later contacted by them, who asked them to visit the facility to talk about her mom. This one flew under the radar. This one is done by Neil Blomkamp, who did District 9 and Elysium and Chappie and all those sci-fi, right? So when I heard he was doing a horror movie, I was really excited. But when it came out, I had no idea it came out. And it got really bad reviews. It was like 0.5 star out of 5, 1 star out of 5. So of course I'm like, I gotta check this out. Is it really that bad? Well, I don't know what the reviewers are watching. I do have a weak spot for horror sci-fi. It's my favorite genre, of course. So it takes demonic possession and adds a new twist to it. Like a simulation. Think kind of like The Matrix, right? Carly's mom, Angela, is like comatose and she can't move or anything like that. And she has like scars and scratches and cuts all over her body, right? Carly goes to this facility and they want to put her under and go into the simulation where Angela is in. She's in a simulation with her brain. She's really active in there. And so they kind of mix like simulation with demonic possession. And you find out that Angela, why she killed all these people, she's possessed with something. And you kind of see it in through this like simulation in her brain, and it slowly starts to seep out into the real world. It starts to haunt Carly. It was really good. It was excellent. The movie doesn't rely on jump scares. It like relies on like imagery, and it's creepy, atmospheric. There are like little jump scares here and there, but it doesn't rely on it. And if you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. It's really good. Got terrible reviews, but I have no idea why. Don't pay attention to reviewers. Go watch this movie. It's excellent. Have you seen Demonic? Let me know. Next movie is the remake of Wrong Turn. You know Wrong Turn. Wrong Turn, the movie about like the hillbillies in the forest murdering people, right? So that was the first one, and the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So the premise of this movie is friends are hiking Appalachian Trail, confronted by the Foundation, a community of people who have lived in the mountains for hundreds of years, right? Friends hiking this trail are confronted by this community, and things start to happen, right? They think that they're trying to kill them and their friends are dying. There's kind of like a little twist in this, honestly. It's really good. Think of it like a cult. So this is like a clever reboot, kind of like a reimagining of the Wrong Turn series. So if you're hoping for evil killer hillbillies, you're not going to get that here. You throw away the hillbillies and you replace it with a cult who has some very extreme views. There's some pretty brutal scenes in this movie, which is great. It did feel like two movies in one. It started out good, and then there's like a certain spot in the movie where it kind of takes a wrong turn. Not bad, but it just kind of feels like, oh, this feels like a different movie. That'd be my only grievance with it, because it is a long movie. It could have been shorter, but I still enjoyed it. They do make a joke about killer hillbillies, kind of like nodding at the originals, which is pretty funny. It was definitely a franchise that needed a reboot and kind of like a reimagining, and I liked it. It was good. The acting wasn't bad. The cult was interesting. You can see where they're coming from, but then some shit happens. You're like, okay, they're kind of fucked up. And they're kind of brutal because like this is their land. They don't live by the laws of man. They live by their own laws, right? And they're definitely a cult. Great movie. The main chick in it was great as well. Wrong Turn, check it out. But we like evil killer hillbillies. We grew up with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, you had 8 movies of killer hillbillies in Wrong Turn. You gotta do something different. Have you guys seen Wrong Turn? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments. Guys, if you're enjoying the stream too, make sure to hit the follow button. We're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Check out the Discord. We have a fantastic community over there. Moving on to the next horror movie. This one, actually, Meadow Girl was watching. And I sat down with her and we restarted it. And it was really good. I was kind of taken aback. It's called Superhost. Find it on Shudder. So the premise is two travel YouTubers, they make vlogs and stuff, on a mission to bolster their diminishing viewer interest visit a vacation rental cabin with an eccentric superhost who transforms from an off-putting oddball to imminent threat over their vacation stay. Now I can kind of relate to this one, the whole YouTubers, I hate YouTuber vloggers, right? So watching this, I already hated. Well, I didn't hate the main characters. The chick I hated. I hated the main YouTuber chick. The guy I felt bad for. Watch the movie, you'll understand why. The host chick in this movie, fucking psycho. Gracie Gillum, who was the antagonist in this movie, did a fantastic job, right? She's like, when you first meet her, she's like goofy. Like, yeah, this is my place, right? She goes from like goofy and oddball, you're like, oh, she's kind of weird, kind of like her, to completely fucking batshit crazy. And honestly, it was great. I hated the YouTuber couple. That's all I'm going to say about that, right? Mainly the YouTuber chick. It kind of shows you how these main characters who are YouTubers only care about making their videos, right? And they don't care who they upset. Because they go to place, filming these locations, talking about these like bed and breakfasts and reviewing them. And they usually give them like a bad review. And so they've destroyed a lot of businesses like that. So it's kind of similar to how YouTube is right now and how not all YouTubers, but like how a lot of YouTubers, they only mainly focus on the views. They don't care who they hurt while filming their video. David Dobrik, fuck that guy. And it has an ending that you're either going to hate the ending or you're going to love the ending. YouTubers can be shit people. So Superhost, it's on Shudder. Check it out. It's a really good movie. I think you guys will like it. Next movie, Candyman. Premise is, for decades, the housing projects of Chicago's Cabrini Green was terrorized by a ghost story about a supernatural, hook-handed killer. In present day, an artist begins to explore the macabre history of Candyman, not knowing it would unravel his sanity and unleash a terrifying wave of violence that puts him on a collision course with destiny. This was a horror movie, but this movie is more like an art piece. It was like a horror art movie. It was really well made. It was really well filmed. A lot of the shots were very artistic. It was definitely a mental trip. You're watching this character sanity slowly erode over this course of this movie. It's a grisly fate for him. It does pay homage to like the original, not just about Candyman, the original story, and it's more into the cultural appropriation and the systemic issues that have historically plagued the communities of color. So that makes 2021 Candyman more than just a horror flick, but a powerful lesson in empathy and public responsibility. It was really good. It got mixed reviews, which I guess I could see why. It wasn't your typical horror movie. I felt like it was much more than that. It didn't really rely on paranormal it was kind of paranormal. It didn't rely on jump scares. And it was interesting because it came at this point with Candyman that it wasn't just one guy, right? Because you think of Candyman, you think of the OG Candyman. But I really liked how Candyman isn't just one guy, but it was like a multitude of spirits who were wronged by the white man through the years. There's like several different versions of Candyman, and you did see the OG Candyman in this movie at some point, but you also saw like a bunch of different types of Candyman. It was like one entity kind of thing, and how the movie ends kind of explains that more, and you're like, oh, that's kind of neat, that's kind of cool. I really liked it. Tony Todd was the actor. You see Tony Todd, which is great. I do wish, he was in it kind of more, but I totally understand what they did with the film. And it was really good. The kills were interesting. The kills were freaky. Candyman still kind of freaks me out. The whole mirror thing. Mirrors are creepy, dude. Candyman, have you seen it? Did you like it? What do you guys think of it? Let me know. The next horror movie I'm going to mention is one that we just recently watched. All right. I was really impressed with this one. This one is called Satyr. This one was a trip. So Nanny, who suffers from dementia, believes a supernatural entity called Satyr speaks to her in her mind and compels her to make automatic writings. Her daughter mysteriously vanishes. Things start to happen. This movie is a really slow burn indie horror movie. Think of like The Witch, Blair Witch Project, The Lighthouse. It's kind of in that style of movie. It's one of those movies where you have to really pay attention to. It's not a movie you put on in the background. If you come back to it, you're going to be like, what the hell's happening? It kind of reminded me of Hereditary, which I hate that movie. That movie sucks. Say what you will. This is my opinion. I thought this movie was much better than that. though they do have their differences. But this movie does build up to a very climactic ending, pretty brutal, dealing with like demonic entity and something to do with a cult as well. And so if you're looking for like a horror movie with jump scares or high-paced, brutal horror, this movie's not for you. But if you like those slow burn horror movies that builds up and you keep questioning like what is happening, it'll keep you interested for sure. I was surprised by it. I was surprised at how good it was, especially for an indie horror movie. We've watched a lot of indie horror movies together. A lot of them are not good. Have you seen it? Let me know, guys. So this next one was excellent. VHS 1994, Hail Ratman. So this is kind of like a reboot of the series. VHS 1 and 2 were good. Number 3 was kind of blah. They got this one going, and there are so many good short horror stories in this movie. Though I'd say the main story revolving around in this movie is probably its weakest link. But there's so many good ones. It does play into like a cult kind of thing, which I think is from number 2. Don't quote me on that, but I think they bring back a certain type of cult. For this number 3, the main story in VHS 94 was, it's all right. I didn't really care for it. Every time I came out, I was just like, okay, get to the next one, right? The Rat Man living in the sewers was excellent. The one called The Wake, spooky as shit, loved it. My favorite one probably had to do with the evil scientists kidnapping people and turning them into robots. That one was great. I fucking loved that one. The continuous storyline wasn't all that good, but the surrounding stories were, the surrounding stories of VHS 94 held this movie together so well that you could forgive like the main story that was going through. And then like the redneck hillbilly one, which I thought was really good. Probably my least favorite, but I still really enjoyed it. I do hope they dive more into that whole mythology of the vampire, because that vampire is freaky as fuck. I love that they used practical effects in this movie. Didn't rely on CG. Some CG for sure, but a lot of it was practical effects. And you know me, I love practical effects, so it's always good to see horror movies doing that. So VHS 1994, have you seen it? What'd you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Excellent movie. Cannot wait for the next VHS. Let's move on to the next horror movie. This one's more of a horror comedy. I would say I absolutely adore this movie. And this is going to be a classic movie for a very long time. Psycho Goreman. So Psycho Goreman follows an ancient evil from a different planet, buried beneath Earth's surface, right? And a 10-year-old girl and her brother find this ancient alien. Well, they find like the diamond, which releases him upon the Earth. He goes on to kill some people, but since the little girl, this 10-year-old girl, has this diamond, she can control Psycho Goreman. It's really interesting because you see like the real villain in this movie is the 10-year-old girl. Psycho Goreman, sure, he fucks some people up, and he's hilarious. He's so funny. It's like almost like a serious tone movie. Doesn't take itself serious, and it's all practical effects. It's all silly, and some of it's like pretty gruesome as well, pretty bloody. But it's so good, and it's so well made, especially for like I'd say it's like a B movie. Fantastic effects, yeah, exactly. Fantastic effects. So if you want a really good horror comedy movie, Psycho Goreman's great. I mean, what else is there to say about it? Like, I give this movie 10 out of 10. Just how much I like this movie. Some of the scenes were pretty gruesome as well, like I said, right? He's able like to transform people, because he has like these superpowers, right? Into like hideous things. He transforms his cop into like a disfigured, gross zombie thing that keeps trying to kill himself because he's forever, eternally damned. Fighting scenes are kind of like, it's spoofy. Think of it like, it's kind of like Power Rangers almost. You know, you got like the full body latex suits and the costume and the makeup. And it's just like funny and chaotic, and it's great. So Psycho Goreman, check it out if you haven't. Have you seen it? Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. I'm sure there's some horror movies that didn't make the list, but those are just the ones that came to my mind. Doesn't mean I didn't like the other ones, or maybe I haven't seen them yet. That was my list of the best horror movies from 2021. Do you guys like it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know.